Well, I mean, it may be a bit out there, but I mean, I'm toying with the prospect of advising him, as we sit here now, to call that vote of confidence himself. I mean, the Conservative Party needs to go through some kind of process to draw a line under this. And I'm not being completely flippant, because the problem for MPs, I think, is, and for people that have got to go out and campaign for the party in the run-up to local elections, big local elections this year in May, is when is this going to stop? You know, there's been a sense of one thing after another. Perhaps some of them have been more significant than others, but it's this relentless drip, drip, drip. And that is really what did for John Major's government back in the 90s, where, you know, you had various different scandals and various different exposés. And in the end, there was just this terrible sense amongst the general public of complete fatigue with the government. They just didn't want to hear anything more from the Conservative Party, which they felt it was corrupt, but also, more importantly, they just felt it was completely inept. And I think this is Boris Johnson's challenge. How on earth does he convince his party and the wider public that he is in charge and that he knows what he's in charge of? You started the programme with this very powerful monologue about all the sort of policy failings, how he had really let people down, particularly in the Red Wall, with the sort of things he'd promised to them and which he clearly hasn't delivered. He's gone off in another direction altogether. And I think I suspect that is the real reason why Munira Mirza has gone. And you know, this is a huge agenda for him to tackle.
Now, if you, as you're saying, he should call it and get them to do it, because if he calls it, then haven't they got don't they have, once they've done it, can they, if he then wins, they can't then try and do this again? Well,
I mean, under the current Conservative constitution, that's right. You know, he would then be in place for a year, and there'd be a little bit of breathing space for him to try to pull this operation back together. I mean, I think people really want to know, does he want the job? We're hearing a lot of briefing from his office. And you know, we're hearing briefing that coming from supporters of Boris Johnson that he's hungry, that he wants this job. But you kind of get the sense that he may be hungry to hang on in power, but what does he want to do with it?
But who have they got, though? Because, OK, it's all very well then saying... Because for me, just from where I am, from my perspective, it seems to me it's a bit irresponsible in the sense that they're doing this right now. We've got potential war. China and Russia seem to be merging forces. The Russian troops are hanging out at the border on the Ukraine. We've got so many things going in terms of a cost of living crisis. And it feels like these ego, who should... And yet, even if we get rid of him, it'll be another person doing pretty much a similar thing.
Well, Nana, I think you're right. I think that, to a certain extent, that's what is bolstering his position, a sense that, look, all things being equal, he would already have gone. But clearly, all things are never equal in politics, and there's a huge number of other things going on. And I think many people, you know, and I have a lot of sympathy with this, would say that for the Conservative Party now to mire themselves in a process that could take 6 to 8 weeks, that's wholly introspective, is a very bad look. And I think, you know, that is, if you like, the weight that's keeping him in place. But it needs to be more than that.